The lower you can get the hole down, the better, because then they're going to be able to access more water, but you don't want to hit the bottom of the bucket. Hey guys, welcome to Wild Hope Homestead. I need to make another waterer for the chickens, a water bucket, because the one they've got at the moment has started breaking, so I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you how I do it. So this is our existing water bucket. The lid's not on properly, I just emptied the water out. It's a 20 litre food grade bucket. I can't remember where this particular one is from. And it's got 4 water nipples along close to the bottom and spaced out for the chickens to drink from. So these ones are, you can get various water nipples. You can get vertical ones that go on the bottom of a bucket if you want to have the bucket hung up high, and you're going to install them on the bottom of the bucket so they're sticking down and the chickens push up on the little metal bit to get the water out. These horizontal ones go on the side of a bucket, and so the chickens push this little silver metal nipple here and the water comes out in this shallow, just like a shallow cup. You can also get ones that have a bigger red cup, but to me that's more cleaning because it's just going to grow algae in there, so I like these ones. Also, they vary in quality. There are a lot of cheaper ones around. I stick to the good quality European made ones. You can get them from Chook Manor and a couple other places I can't think off the top of my head in New Zealand. I think Chook Manor is where I've usually gotten them from. I think there's someone else on Trade Me who has them, but they are the European quality ones, and they've lasted for ages. I do have some on another bucket as well, some of the original ones. My original water nipples I've been here 9 years. I can't remember when I made the first bucket. It'll be at least 6 years, 7 or even 7. I'll have to look back and I'll put it up on the screen when I find out. But the only one that's broken is one that broke when, one or two that broke when the water was tipped over by the chickens when it was getting empty, because they do like to jump on top of them. So now I always keep a brick on top to stop that from happening. Otherwise, even though some of them have been sun faded to pink, they're still working, and I haven't had any of them fail in terms of actually working. I like to use food grade buckets because that means, it's going to be good quality plastic and strong plastic, so it's going to last longer than non-food grade buckets, which are thinner plastic. This new one I've got is from Bunnings. The only really annoying thing about it is that it's got one of those annoying labels that doesn't pull off properly, so the bottom layer of the label is just going to be left on there until it eventually wears off over time. I think this one may have been from a winemaking supplies place. I know we can also get them from NZ Safety Blackwoods. Storage Box has food grade buckets, but they are more of an opaque, they're not the solid white colour, so I don't like them so much because they will grow algae more easily. That's the biggest thing with these buckets, is that they will start growing algae eventually. If you can keep them out of the sun, that helps a lot. This one has been going for 2 days with water in it, so it's not too bad, but it's got a little bit of algae on the bottom and around the edge close to the bottom. I do clean them out with soapy water every time I refill them because I like to have a clean bucket. A clean water is clean water for the chickens, and that makes for healthier chickens. So the way the nipples work is you drill a hole into the side of the bucket and then they're going to screw in there. So I'm going to reuse these nipples in the new bucket, but I need to drill holes first. Why I'm making a new one is because this one's been around for a few years and it started getting brittle and breaking around the edge here. There's some more cracks happening there, that's going to go soon. And also the handle here cracked on me the other day. And the lid, actually the lid was the first to get cracks in it. But also I'm looking forward to getting rid of this because Steve drilled a hole, well, used a screw to make a big hole in the top, which has let water in and dirt, and that's kind of increasing the risk of, well, the probability of growing algae in there and getting the water dirty when it rains and water pools in the top. It will go down that hole. The thing with using these as water is you are going to need to let some air in somehow because obviously they're airtight and they haven't got holes or cracks in them. So what I generally do is either leave the lid slightly ajar, like not quite pushed down properly, or I usually end up making a tiny hole in the top, just a tiny hole, not that big, not with a screw, just a very small, you know, like pinprick of a hole kind of thing with a big, like push, one of those, what are they called, drawing pins or something like that, or if you have a very fine drill bit, just to let a little bit of air in to release the pressure, and then the water will come out. Otherwise you'll end up with the chickens not being able to get the water out of the water nipples because the air's trapped in there and it won't let the water out. So first I need to just use a marker to mark where I want to drill holes around the side of this bucket. Kind of going off roughly what I've done with this one, because this old one worked well. Remembering that the bucket, you don't want to put them evenly all around the side, like so they end up on the back of the bucket, because the chickens need to be able to reach them easily. This sits on a concrete cinder block in the chicken pen. So the chickens have to be able to drink without, you know, being in the way of walls or other of the chicken coop or other obstacles. So you got to think about, yeah, try and have them towards the front of the bucket. So this one, measuring to the centre-ish, actually it's not gonna, I need a flexible measuring tape, let's just do it upside down for a sec. From the centre, about 34 centimetres from the centre of the one on the farthest side to the other farthest side. A span of about 34 centimetres. So if I start with the outer two on this one, and then just space the other two inside of those two. You might also want to think about where the handle is in relation to the nipples. It might seem like the natural thing to do to want to put the nipples nicely in front of the handle, so the handle can either be at the back or the front of them. If you have the handle at the back, it's likely to get in the way of lifting it up nicely, because you're probably going to have the bucket near a wall, like the wall of the coop or a fence or something, and so that doesn't make it easy to pick up. And if it's in the front, it can get in the way of the chickens because it does stick out a little bit. So I kind of like to have it sitting in the pen where the handle's going to be on the side or somewhere thereabouts. I'm going to take one of the nipples off the old bucket so we can see where the hole is and how close I put it to the bottom. There's a little bit of a lip on the bottom of the bucket that comes down further than the actual bottom of the bucket on the inside. So let's look at the opposite side. Oh, there's a slug, cool. So you don't want to put a hole too close to the bottom, because then you could be hitting into the bottom of the bucket. So keep an eye on that. And to get it undone, I'm just going to unscrew it anti-clockwise. I'll give them a good clean because there's a bit of gunk stuck in there. There we go. That's what it looks like. It's just got a threaded plastic bit that gradually gets wider, so you screw it in until you meet resistance. So that's where our hole is located. I'm just going to measure that to see. The centre of that is about 23 millimetres from the bottom of this bucket. You can see in this light that the hole is above the bottom of the bucket just. The lower you can get the hole down, the better, because then they're going to be able to access more water, but you don't want to hit the bottom of the bucket. I think the lip on this bucket looks slightly, there's not as much of a gap between the side of the bucket at the bottom and the centre of the bucket at the bottom, but I'll just still go off the same measurement because that should give plenty of clearance. I can actually see there's a slight kind of dent on this one anyway, where I can see where the bottom of the bucket is, so that will help. And then we're going to go around about 34 centimetres. So I don't have a flexible measuring tape. 34 is there. You don't have to measure, I like the measurements of the one that I've got, so I'm trying to copy that. So round about there. There's one. One little X there, and one little X there, and the other two are just going to be spaced evenly-ish between those two. So now they're not exactly spaced out evenly, but that's alright. We've got 4 crosses on there. Now I'm going to measure the diameter of the hole on the original one because I can't remember what size drill bit I used. Let's just get this out of the way. 10 millimetres-ish, although I probably might need to be a little bit smaller than that to start with. Let's have a look. Don't tell me that's the 10. No! The 10 millimetre one is sitting on the workbench, broken. How did that happen? The tip of it is broken off. Okay, somebody didn't tell me about that. Oh dear. Why are these all in funny places? Okay. Oh boy, let's put it going there. That's a different size. What on earth? Is that the same size? That's an 8. Looks like an 8 too. Okay, we've got an 8 millimetre one, so I'm going to do that and see how that goes. Otherwise I'll have to borrow one of Steve's when he gets home because the 10 millimetre one is broken. Alright. I'm going to drill some holes. That will be a little bit noisy. Let's start with this one. Oops. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be big enough. Well, actually that might be okay. Actually, that was a good place to start. How far on will it go though? I might be able to make it work. I turn it, the more you turn it, as you turn it, it will actually make the hole wider, so I think that will actually work. It's just going to be a bit of tough turning. I think that will actually work, so that's good. I think we can get it in far enough. So yeah, go with the 8mm drill bit. And get it back off again because I need to clean them. Okay, next hole. And that's it. Well, for the holes. Pretty easy to bung holes in the bucket when you've got the right size drill bit. Now we need to get these nipples cleaned with the brush so they'll be nice and ready to go. And then I'm going to clean the whole bucket with soap. Soapy water, get rid of all these plastic bits in here. And because it's new, you should always clean new stuff with soapy water. I've just made a tiny hole in the lid with this little, I don't know what you call it, like a poker. It's like a screwdriver, but not a screwdriver, it's just a little poker. If you make the hole on the inside of the lid, you're actually pushing the plastic up a bit, so hopefully that should help reduce water from going into the hole. It's only a very tiny hole here, so we'll see if that's big enough. And if it's not, we'll just make it slightly bigger. So I've got the bucket and the lid and the water nipples all cleaned with soapy water. I keep a bar of soap up on the post by the tap, which is nice and handy. So now I'm gonna just screw the water nipples into each hole. getting harder to turn now. As you go, it gets harder to turn around, which is what it's supposed to do, because that means it's going to be a nice snug fit. So you want to get it most of the way in and ending so that the little tiny cup bit is facing the bottom. So that's good. So there we go. I could screw these ones in another turn or another couple of turns, except that the hole isn't quite big enough, so maybe an 8.5 or 9mm hole drill bit would be better. They don't have to be sitting flat against the bucket. You don't want the hole to get too big, otherwise it might leak. The main thing is you don't want it leaking. The benefit of having a little bit of a gap in between the water nipples and the bucket is that it's probably actually easier to get a toothbrush or some kind of brush or cloth behind there to clean it. Dirt's going to get stuck behind there anyway. But that will do just nicely. Now we just need to fill it up with water and then we can have happy chickens. Oh, this is going to be hard to coming out. Yeah. Everybody likes fresh water. So that's how I make a waterer with a 20-litre bucket. I've also made smaller ones. This is a 10-litre bucket I use mostly for younger, when I'm raising younger chickens. And you can see by the colour of these water nipples, these are all the original ones from the first waterer I ever made. You can tell by their pinkish whitish colour, but they are still working. This one's not in use at the moment because I haven't got any young ones. And this one, the lid is starting to crack. These water nipples definitely outlast the buckets, that's all I can say. The buckets are just going to be something that do have to be replaced every few years, depending on how much you use them and how much sun they're getting. In New Zealand we have really strong UV from the sun, so that breaks stuff down really quickly. With the old water bucket that's falling apart, I'll just use that for weeds, is usually what the retired ones end up getting used for. You can't use them for anything where fine stuff is going to come out of the holes that are now open, but for collecting weeds and stuff around the garden, they're fine. we will use it until it breaks entirely and has no other purpose. So that's how I make an automatic waterer for the chickens. We've got 12 chickens at the moment, large heritage breed Australorp chickens. I could use a bucket that size for, if I have like over 20 mature large chickens, you'd want to have another waterer, but you can use however many you need, or use a similar concept with a bigger barrel or something if you have a lot of chickens. That's just probably the size that most people will use, either that or the 10-litre one if you only have like 3 chickens or something. Depending on the time of year and how many chickens I've got, I have to fill it up every few days, maybe every 3 or 4 days at the most. If it gets any longer than that, it starts to grow algae or just get a bit yucky anyway, so you don't want it to be sitting around for too long. So if you do have less chickens, like just 3 or maybe 4, you could use this 10-litre bucket, which is just smaller. I've used those nipples for chicks who once they can go outside, about 5 weeks of age, they are okay to use those nipples. When they're younger than that, I use these chicken water nipple drinkers. So this is the vertical kind of ones where you'd usually see those on the bottom of a bucket. And it's just really light, it's lighter and it's easy for them to push, so they can easily get water out when they're little. But once they're about 5 weeks or however old they are, I mean, they can use the bigger ones from younger. I've seen a mother hen teaching chicks to use them from a younger age, so it depends on the chicks, but generally if they're less than 5 weeks they might need something that's a bit easier for them to push with their little beaks. So hope you enjoyed watching, and maybe it can encourage you and show you how to make your own chicken waterer. It's very convenient to have, meaning you don't have to fill up water every day, and it helps if you're going away or anything as well, or if you're sick or there's a storm or something, you don't have to be worrying about their water for a few days. So it's really handy, and once one chicken knows how to use it, the rest will learn. My chickens have all been pretty fast learners. So what was that? Something dropping on the roof. I haven't had any trouble with chickens learning how to use it. As soon as one knows, they watch the others. They're very smart, and you can easily show them by poking your finger. I do that if I have younger chicks from elsewhere who haven't learnt. You just poke it with your finger and they learn. They'll pick at anything, so they catch on pretty quickly. So thanks for joining us in today's vlog. Choose to grow hope, and we'll see you next time. Bye. What are you doing, Trevor? You're waiting for me to leave so you can sneak out the door. Hey?